up? Welcome in. You made it. Congratulations. We got to freaking Friday. There you go. Now we actually have the collective pat on the back when we make it to Friday. But we got here ahead of another loaded weekend in the NFL. You know, it's kind of interesting because I feel like when Mac and I started the set of shows this week on Tuesday, that I think the first thing Mac said when I welcomed him into the week of the programs was, what did we just watch last night, referring to last Monday night's football game between the Eagles and the Chargers. Kind of ironic as I come on here to do our last show of the week that I'm in the same position and I'm going, what the hell did I actually watch last night? Oh, do I have some thoughts on that? Yeah, I've got some thoughts on that. And every gambler out there, every sports gambler, sports investor, I like to call it that. Sounds a lot more professional and elegant than degenerate couch potato does. But I've got some thoughts on last night's game, because last night's game was one of those games that can make you twice as pissed off for watching the whole thing in the same game. It's a phenomenon that doesn't happen very often. It happened to me last night, and I'll share my feelings on that with you. The Colorado Avalanche, by the way, are an absolute friggin' wagon. We're going to talk about them a little bit. The SEC schedule came out yesterday. Did you watch the show? I'm asking because I don't know if there was a show for it, since we have to have shows for everything in college football now. But they do have a sense of humor down in the South when they make the schedule. The NBA Cup is headed to Las Vegas. Does anybody really care is my first question. The courts are atrocious. We don't need to talk about that. We've beat that dead horse, and I'm sure they'll get worse next year. But we've got some interesting semifinal matchups from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And in typical Vegas Mac fashion, you can get into one of the games for as low as $40 and the other one for as low as $48. Talk a little bit about that. A lot of people going, damn, man, we don't really have much college football this weekend. Army, Navy. We've got the Celebration Bowl and the swan song for the bucked up LA Bowl hosted by Gronk, its final edition. Boise State and Washington. That's going to be a fun one. But college basketball said, hi guys, we've got some freaking games on. They start tonight. Saturday, absolutely friggin' loaded. We'll get into some of that. Maybe a couple picks there. Goodbye to a legend this weekend. YouTube TV back on the Friday program, but not in the final word today. They actually might be doing something remotely good, I guess. I don't know. And we'll talk about some stuff for the weekend. And of course, on Friday, the final word. If you're watching along, feel free to comment along. And we'll get as many of them up on the screen as we can. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show. Everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. I appreciate you guys bearing with me all week. I sound like literal hell. I feel worse than literal hell. Watching last night's game did not help any of that. So if there's a couple awkward pauses here so I don't sound like a 97-year-old chain smoker, just bear with me. But let's get into the start of the stuff here. Because, again, we've got a loaded sports weekend, and there's some cool shit going on outside of the football world. And we'll get started with my guy, Nate McKinnon. And the Colorado Avalanche, 6-2 last night. They beat Florida. 6 different goal scorers for the Avs. 51 points in 31 games. They're the 6th team in the last 20 years to top the 50-point mark in less than 30 games. They're 12-0-2 at home. Their next home game is Saturday against the Smashville Predators that don't look back. The Predators, they're in the rearview mirror, the way rearview mirror. Nashville's won 4 of their last 5 games. You know the thing, you've been watching the show long enough. T and I have both been wondering when we're going to see Barry Trotz be summoned from the GM suite back down to the bench. All he needs is Steven Stamkos to do what he did last night, like 12 more times this season, and they might get back into it. 4 goals for Stammer last night. And again, they've won 4 of their last 5. Nashville has. They dropped a 7 spot on St. Louis yesterday. That's going to be a fun one on Saturday. I believe, if I remember correctly from Wednesday's show, on Saturday we also have the aforementioned Panthers that lost to Colorado last night. I believe they're playing the Stars this weekend. Yep, also on Saturday night as well. So we got some good hockey on this weekend. But this Colorado team, man, you know, if we could just set up a situation somehow where Colorado and Dallas could play for the Western Conference Finals, it would be amazing. Maybe by some miracle of whatever that happens. Highly unlikely with the start for the Avs. The Stars that TJ talked about and Mac talked about them this morning, TJ, on Wednesday, freaking red hot right now. Jason Robertson is doing unworldly things. I'm really, really excited to watch this Colorado team because I think they're going to get better. We know the thing, you've all seen it on social media right now about the Broncos at home. Oh, we're going to talk about the Broncos at home later. The Avs at home, the Nuggets at home. No, the Rockies aren't a part of this. We're talking about successful stuff in Colorado. But those 3 teams at home this season have barely lost at all 3 of them combined. High vibes in Denver right now. High vibes, if you get what I'm saying. The SEC schedule came out yesterday. The big switch for the SEC this year. Finally going to a 9-game conference schedule. So they redid the schedules to reflect that. Week 3. Talk about a sense of humor. You know, and I this was something that started this year in college football, and I have no idea where the hell it came from, but it was really fun to see people whine and cry about how this went. College game day and which games they chose to go to, and the conspiracy dorks that think ESPN controls the college football playoff. Oh, I've got some words for you later, those people. I can guarantee you I know where college game day will be in week 3 next year, and that's going to be in Oxford, Mississippi, when LSU visits Oxford in week 3. So they're not even going to make us wait very long to get Lane Kiffin back in Oxford. Polarizing, never before seen. I mean, we could sit here and probably never capture the right adjective for what that scene's going to be like. Back to the people that bitch and whine about where college game day goes, though. Why do you care so damn much where a pregame show goes? Apparently that's a big thing this year. Oh my God. It's number 1 versus number 2 in the Big Ten title game. Why are they not at that one? They're at the FCC title game. Well, hold on here, geniuses. Why do you think they're at the SEC title game? Because the SEC is on ABC and ESPN. So for championship week, do you think they're really going to go to the Big Ten championship? No, they're going to go to one of their conference championships that airs on their network. And again, why do you care so much? I gave the Big Noon kickoff a little bit this year. I gave them about an hour and 46 minutes, I think. Can't do it. It doesn't hold a freaking candle to game day. But week 3, we're going to see Lane return to Oxford. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see this game. Tulane versus no Lane. It's a great shirt. I got to get me one of those. That's a Vegas Max shirt. If you guys haven't caught it on his Twitter bio by now, he is a sports t-shirt aficionado, I think is what we had him put down there. He's got some sports t-shirts, man. I'm telling you. Like the dude is a sports t-shirt collector. Millions of them. When he does his 1000th show, I might finally get him a Mike Arana show shirt in celebration for his 1000th show. Mike Arana show shirts. Those are coming sooner rather than later. But that's a shirt I'd wear right there. Tulane versus no lane. But that's seen in Oxford week 3 next year. College game day is going to be there. So go ahead and start bitching and whining about that now. I mean, why not bitch about it for 9 months? And again, why people care where pregame shows go, I have no freaking idea. Pete Alonso, we talked about him this week. He is now a member of the Baltimore Orioles. Well, the Mets aren't really having a fantastic offseason. Let's just put it that way. But we've heard a lot of stuff since the season ended about what exactly was going on in that Mets clubhouse and whether or not Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto got along, allegedly. Marcus Semien was traded to the Mets for Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo, a guy that's been there a lot, been a positive guy to that lineup. He's gone. Edwin Diaz is a Dodger. And then Pete Alonso leaves. And we talk about this all the time, and we mention it all the time, that we're not inside the locker room. So it is impossible for anybody that is not inside the locker room to not really know what's going on. These guys are also all professionals. I'm sure you're going to hear very little to nothing from any of the people involved. But Pete Alonso leaving the Mets, that tells me a few things. Number one, maybe the inside of that clubhouse was indeed that bad. Pete's a hard guy not to get along with. One of the best dudes in sports, let alone Major League Baseball. Go Gators, by the way. But Pete Alonso leaving the Mets tells me there might be something more to that. And either Pete thinks they have really no chance with the way they're constructed to win a World Series. That could be part of it. Could also be part of it that maybe the Mets weren't offering the same amount of money. I highly doubt that. Cohen has never shied away from spending money. Maybe he just got tired of a toxic clubhouse. But Pete Alonso leaving the Mets actually makes me believe there's a lot more to that story, that even if we don't ever find out, I'm really interested now to watch this Mets team, because we've talked about the Phillies. We know the Phillies are going to blow the whole thing up in Phillies kind of ways. Wouldn't be shocked if the entire outfield in Philadelphia is all new next year. Obviously, they brought Schwarber back. I'm interested to see what Philly does with some of those arms. They've been long linked to a couple of Marlins pitchers, Cabrera and Alcantara. I said it the other day, if the Royals are going to make a move with Chris Bubich, I think he's a great guy to fill in mid to back side of that rotation. And Atlanta. And Atlanta's in a little more of a cash kind of situation. Like, they're not poor, but they don't have the money to rip off the A's and instantly sign a guy to an extension the day they get him from the A's like they've done for the past couple of years. But a healthy Braves team is still very much in that mix. And I'm really, really interested to see how the Mets handle the rest of this offseason. Yeah, they brought in Devin Williams. They acquired Marcus Semien. But it's the guys that have not re-signed with the Mets. Cedric Mullins, guys like that. And I know Mullins wasn't great towards the end of last year. But like guys that just don't want to be a part of the Mets, that I'm sure the Mets would have had back. Pete Alonso tells me that there's something, because and people out here in Arizona can kind of understand it. Pete Alonso to the Mets, Paul Goldschmidt to the Diamondbacks. Maybe Goldschmidt ends up coming back to the Diamondbacks. Who knows? But like guys that just don't leave their teams, like Buster Posey with the Giants. Like we get to see it in baseball, thankfully, still quite a bit. Guys that just don't ever leave their teams. Pete Alonso is one of those guys you would have said, the dude's never going to leave the Mets. Now, what do the Mets do at first base? That's a huge bat. Now I actually have to do a little bit of fantasy baseball research because I'm in a keeper league, and Pete Alonso was our first baseman, had a great year. Now I have no first baseman. So thanks a lot for being toxic inside your clubhouse, Mets, because now it's affecting my life. That Pete Alonso thing made me go, okay, maybe this situation really has gotten that bad. Now I really want to see what's going on in New York. The NBA Cup, as I mentioned, the semifinals in Vegas tomorrow. I like the matchups here. I think they're fun. They're interesting. Magic and Knicks in the one semifinal, and the one-loss Oklahoma City Thunder against the Spurs in the other semifinal. You know, I remember the day this summer when Desmond Bane got moved to the Magic. And Mac and I were doing a show that day, and I remember I didn't think he was a big enough grab. But he definitely has been. That Magic team's playing really good basketball right now in an East that is absolutely wide open. Mac just talked about his Celtics the other day. Who thought the Celtics were going to be third in the East? They might be fourth today. I don't have the standings up in front of me, but they're up there. Hell, the other day when we had Mac's video, they had the fourth best odds to win the Eastern Conference, the Celtics. I didn't think Desmond Bane was a needle mover. The Magic look really, really solid. And it's not that I didn't respect Bane as a scorer, because he was a pain in the ass when the Warriors and Grizzlies were battling in the playoffs. He just wasn't a needle mover, but he has been literally the thing that the Magic needed. The Disney babies, as I've referred to the Magic plenty of times, they're all growing up, and you had a veteran shooter like Bane, and it's been the perfect mix for them. You know, I hate to in sports, I despise comparing, to me, the Jordan LeBron argument, A, it's silly because it's not an argument to me. And B, talking about two completely different times of playing basketball. You want something controversial? I'll tell you why are we all a shoo-in that the greatest player of this generation is LeBron James? Because he scored a lot of points. There was no debate whether or not Michael Jordan was the best player of his generation. There was none. I think it is debatable who the best player of this generation is. Not discounting what LeBron's done. He's definitely in the conversation. One of the best players to ever do it. But I hate comparing stuff. I will say this. I'm watching the Magic a little bit more, especially over the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of getting a CP3 to the Suns thing with Desmond Bane. I think that's the best way to explain it to somebody that hasn't really seen them up close and personal this year. They're 15-10, the Magic are. They're fourth in the East. Their game against the Knicks, who are 17-7 under Mike Brown, who are second in the East, trailing the Pistons, who are still rolling at 19-5. But this Magic team, they're very tough to beat in Orlando. They've got good, when you go down their stats for the season, I mean, you've got on this team 7 guys over 10 points a game. Wendell Carter Jr., very undersung. He's at 11-7. That Magic Knicks game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I don't think that them playing in Vegas in the NBA Cup makes me any more excited to see the game. It's a good early season test for a revamped Knicks team and a Magic team that's on the rise here. And then when you look at the Western Conference semifinal that's up there tomorrow in Sin City, it's Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Oklahoma City, who just tied the Warriors for the best start in NBA history at 24-1. San Antonio in there at 7-7. And yet again, we look at the West, and let's take the Thunder out of the conversation here. You've got number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, all separated by one game. That's Denver, Houston, the Lakers, and the Spurs in that order. Minnesota checks in on the 6th spot. Phoenix having a really good year, 14-11. They're in the 7th spot. Warriors in the 8th spot. Memphis and Dallas. But like, you look at that middle of the West, it's already showing us what it usually does. You look at the middle of the East, we've got a little more separation. 5 losses for the Pistons, 7 for the Knicks, and then you got to get to 10 for the Magic, and the Celtics, and the Sixers, and the Raptors, who are also playing good basketball. These are 2 good games for early in the season. The NBA Cup nonsense, it really doesn't do me any good. Like, okay, cool, the NBA Cup, yippee. These are 2 good teams, or 2 sets of good teams, 2 good semifinal games, playing meaningful basketball early in the season. Will I watch? I don't know. Saturday, there's a lot of stuff on. We always kind of like get to that first Saturday where there's really no college football on, and everybody's like, oh, I'm actually excited. Because it's a perfect day for me to eat like 10 pounds of chili, have both the TVs rolling, roll in and out of sleep all day long, sleep this thing out of my system. If not, we're just going to straight brandy until it's gone. That sounds like a wise plan. What could possibly go wrong there? Again, feel free to comment along if you're watching along. The college basketball slate this weekend is absolutely freaking loaded. And no, those aren't all the good games, but those are our ranked on ranked games, and then our game tonight where Texas visits number 5 UConn. But Nebraska, Illinois tomorrow, Arizona and Alabama, UCLA and Gonzaga. I mean, we have got some games this weekend. I think if I counted right, 22 of the top 25 are in action either tonight, most of them tomorrow, and then Iowa State on Sunday morning. I'm really interested to see this Arizona-Alabama game. I actually played Alabama in that game. I think this Bama team's really, really good. Arizona obviously off to a tremendous start. Eventually they're going to get tripped up somewhere. I think Alabama is going to bring it. I think that game's going to be great. I love that both of those last 2 games are so late at night. And shout out to Mark Few of Gonzaga. Sunday night versus North Florida, he got win number 750. And maybe, because we do Ticket Tuesday on Tuesdays, and Mac last week said that the Sunday night Gonzaga North Florida game, and I don't remember the exact price, but it was something egregious, like $195 to get in. It might even have been higher than that. Maybe that was why, because it was win number 750 for Mark Few. It's historic in the fact that Mark Few did it in game number 904 on Sunday against North Florida. He's second all-time only to Adolph Rupp of Kentucky, who did it in 902 games. That Nebraska-Illinois game is another one you're going to want to watch, too. We've talked about Illinois a little bit, and they've really kind of dove into the European players. Stojakovic transferred over there from Cal. They're a lot of fun to watch because there's something that you don't see a lot in this day and age of college basketball is a lot of the European players in a European kind of style, and that's what Illinois does. And that Nebraska team off to a really good start this year, too. So college basketball is sliding in perfect this weekend. You got Army, Navy to start. I came up with a crackhead bet. I'm actually going to share it with you. You guys know that have watched the show that we say it all the time, play them straight, play them together. That's up to you. We're not huge fans of parlays. If we do, it's some of our fun stuff like our TD trio, which we're doing again this week on Saturday. That's why most of the time when we give you our picks, we're picking them straight, man. Straights aren't as glamorous. But you know what? It's a hell of a lot better at the end of a day to have 20 bets and go 12-8 and make a profit than to have 20 bets and go like 19-1 and lose your ass on parlays all day. But I came up with one for this weekend because I could kind of intermix a couple different things into it. I like some spots this weekend. We'll get to that. This college basketball slate, absolutely friggin' loaded. And whether you like it or not, I'm going to bring it up. One final time for the legend, John Cena, on Saturday night's main event from Washington, D.C., or is it? Does The Rock come in at the end of his match and challenge him to one more at WrestleMania? Who knows? Kind of interested to see how they do it up. John Cena versus Gunther in his last match in the WWE Saturday night's main event. So you got all kinds of shit going on right now. All kinds of stuff. But wanted to give the legend a shout out on his way out the door. I'm sure we'll see him in plenty of low-level movies that are not enjoyable, but shout out to John Cena for a hell of a career. To do that for that long, respect. Hustle, loyalty, and respect. So that's Saturday night as well. We've talked about this a lot, and I'm actually happy to talk about it from a positive standpoint. In case you missed it this week, YouTube TV came out and said early next year they're launching 10 new genre packs. Fancy word for styles. 10 new genre packs early next year, and one of them is going to include sports-only channels. So thank you, YouTube TV, for watching the show a few weeks back when I suggested, when are we going to have this? They were obviously watching. They're obviously doing it. Here's what we know right now. So it's supposed to be the sports pack, because I could give two shits about anything else in there. And I've told you my theory. If I didn't have to have YouTube TV for the NFL Sunday Ticket, I wouldn't have YouTube TV, because I don't even know how many channels we have in our package. Because I only watch about 20 of them. And there's way more than 20. But allegedly, this new sports-only pack gives you access to the 4 major networks. So if a game's on local TV, you can get it that way. I don't know if that means you get to watch that channel also in its entirety, or only when sporting events are on. But then the NBC Sports Network, Fox, all the Fox channels, all the ESPN channels, anything that shows sports included in this. What we don't know, does that also include the MLB Network, the NHL Network? We know it's probably not going to include the NHL Network, because they just refuse to do anything with YouTube TV. But are we going to get the 4 major networks, NFL, NBA, all that stuff too? So we still don't know a ton about it. All we know is it's supposed to be allegedly cheaper. We also don't know if they're going to rope you in for the Sunday Ticket this way and go, well, if you want the sports pack by itself, you can have it. But if you want Sunday Ticket, you have to upgrade above the sports pack. So I hope that's not the case. I think both them and ESPN took a lot of egg on their face when the nonsense happened at the beginning of football season here. Or in football season a few weeks back, let's just put it that way. Told you, I'm working my way through this. But I really hope that that's not the case, but I also wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But who knows? We'll see. They also said the multi-view was going to get better, where you could intermix more. Still not totally perfect there. Much like the college football playoff system, YouTube TV, to quote Scott Van Pelt, just try. That's all we're asking. Just try. So we'll keep our eyes on that, but that's exciting. I mean, early in the year, we'll see what comes of it. Maybe it works out for us. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Let's talk about Thursday Night Football last night, because I am going to tell you right now. First of all, this is the most telling image of last night's game. Kyle Pitts in front of anybody on defense for the freaking Bucks. What an absolute shit show that game was last night. Like, I try and come up with better words than that. I really do, because I think there's better ways to describe things. But certain times, certain things just deserve to be called what they are. And last night was a shit show. An absolute shit show, especially when you dive into the stats from last night. Like, it really is mind-blowing. 19 penalties for 125 yards, down by 14 in the fourth quarter, failed on 2. I have no idea why you even tried them 2-point conversions, leaving them down 28-26. 3rd and 28 with the game on the line, 4th and 14 with the game on the line, still win the game 29-28. Shout out to My Sports Update, our guy Ari Mirov on X, for breaking it down that way where it was easy for me to relay to you. That game was aggravating as all hell last night. Kyle Pitts, I saw it on X last night. I don't know if this is accurate. It was funny when I saw it. The dude posted something and said Kyle Pitts had like 60% of his career fantasy points all tonight. And I laughed, and then I realized it probably is fairly accurate. Nobody has to explain Kyle Pitts and his capabilities to me. Let me tell you that right now. And Bijan Robinson, who after the game said a lot of things, also said that maybe it's just that Florida air for Kyle Pitts. But Pitts was fantastic last night. But last night was the literal defining game of sports fan me and sports talk guy me. It was an internal mental battle all night long. Had to go out, get some stuff from the store, try and get this hellish virus out of me. This must feel like what it feels like to be a Cleveland Browns fan, actually. Maybe I need to stop talking bad about the Browns so much. Maybe it's like the higher powers punishing me for feeling like this. Tampa's up 14. There's like 8 minutes left. I have the Bucks minus 4.5. I have a Bucky Irving touchdown. I'm going to get to Bucky Irving here in a bucking second. You think Todd Bowles dropped a lot of F-bombs in his presser last night. Give Bucky the damn ball. What are we doing here? But in my hands, so the veteran fan hated me because I ended up going 1-2 last night. I should have went 2-1 if the Buccaneers played the final 8 minutes of the game with any kind of sense on top of that. Not only did they suck down the stretch, but some of their play calls were just dumb as hell. So I end up going 1-2. I should have been 2-1 with a chance to get to 3-0. So the better in me last night just angry. I had Sills for a touchdown. He's wide open down the damn sideline. Drops the friggin' ball. Don't know that he would 100% have gotten in the end zone, but it would have been real damn close. And it looked like one of those plays down the sideline, the angle the defender was coming, he probably could have hit the pylon. So yeah, that was that kind of night for me last night. Then the sports talk guy me is like, wow, great game, great finish. That's ultimately all we want, right? We want a great game when it's a standalone game. We want a great finish, big plays. But it's great. It's a great from a, quote another legend today. Maybe it's quoting Legends Friday from the GOAT, Jim Rome. It is what it is there. All the way through. And all we want is content. Who's our favorite team? Team content. Why the hell are we going for 2 when we're down 14, Raheem? And the boys and I are going to talk about this on Wednesday because it's gone back and forth enough and it's becoming so prevalent. And I really think we're going to see somebody end up missing the playoffs because one of these coaches tries to outsmart themselves. I think this is going to be the year we get 2 things out of the NFL. Number one, we get to go through a season with this kind of chaos and crazy finishes. And maybe we start to see some separation these next couple of weeks. Maybe we don't. But I think you're going to see 2 things next year. Number one, I think the tush push is finally gone. Number 2, I think you're going to see a change in some of these coaching philosophies, like going for 2 down 4. What the hell are you doing? But I think all 3 of us, because it's definitely gone out in our group message against or with each other. A lot of the time, if you read it, it sounds like we're against each other. But we all kind of have different viewpoints on this, so that's why we're going to talk about it on Wednesday. But what are we doing there? Again, Kyle Pitts, the monster game. I mean, I'll get to the Falcons here in a second too, because I'm not. That's the other reason why last night sucked for me. I hated the game because the Falcons pissed me off last night too. I say, why, Mike? Because they showed up to play? No, it's not because they showed up to play. This guy, though, Todd Bowles is one of the most, like, mild-mannered dudes in the world. Like, he's as calm and as drywall gets. Last night, if you haven't heard it, and I don't know what the official count is, but I guarantee you somebody counted them last night. You'll probably find it on X because that's where this kind of stuff goes. I think in like 29 seconds, he dropped like 7 F-bombs. And I'm not like trying to be funny or exaggerate. Todd Bowles doesn't do that. And I noticed something last night. He goes, Bowles, again, as mild-mannered and as calm as it gets, as dry as drywall gets. He goes on an F-bomb tirade. They're interviewing Baker Mayfield in the locker room after the game last night, and he just had this, like, glassy-eyed, deer-in-the-headlights kind of look. Like, this Tampa team really doesn't know what's happening right now, and it doesn't look like they understand how to stop it. So one of two things clearly happen here. Carolina can't step up to the plate and meet the moment that is now wide-ass open in front of them. And Tampa backs their way into the postseason. Or Tampa completely misses the postseason because that look I saw last night from Baker, and it's Baker Mayfield. Like, Baker's always got that fiery kind of piss and vinegar look in his eyes. He looked lost. Bowles looked lost. Tampa, like, if you wanted to describe what I saw from Tampa and just the body language at the end of the game and in the post game last night, Tampa Bay looks like a team that should be in concussion protocol because they're unaware that they have a concussion. That's kind of what I saw last night after the game was over. And I'll say it, you know, I can't say anything bad about Todd Bowles. But I said it last year. You can't fire a guy that keeps winning the division. But maybe, just maybe, it might be time for a new voice in Tampa. Obviously, we don't ever want to see anybody get fired. The amount of people that are involved in a coach getting fired is longer than you realize it is. It affects so many people, so many families. But I don't know, man. I don't know if this team this year, despite the injuries, crashes and burns, pulls an Eagles from a couple years ago. Because I think we all forgot about that. They started the year 5-1. They are doing what the Eagles did a couple years ago. Glassy-eyed, like pissing down their leg. No idea that they're even doing it. I think with both of those guards that they have on the line, and Tristan Wirfs was back last night, but he's been in and out so much. There wasn't that typical physical upfront offense from Tampa at all last night. And give the effing ball to Bucky Irving. The dude can catch, he can run people over, he can beat you to the edge, he can make people miss. But every time Tampa had the ball inside the 10 friggin' yard line last night, and it's Sean Tucker, Bucky Irving, nowhere to be found. Your offense, like, needs life support right now in Tampa. Like, a guy that can rejuvenate and invigorate an offense is a guy like Bucky Irving that makes people miss. He's as exciting to watch when he's moving and he's out in the open field as a Bijan Robinson. Nowhere to be found when they're close to the goal line. Nowhere. It was good to see Mike Evans back out there last night and Jalen McMillan. Both had good games. You can tell Mike Evans still isn't right, but that's Mike Evans. Baker just looked rushed all night. And I'm not just talking about the 5 sacks. And I get it, and we all understand when you've had so many key pieces of your offense out for so long, timing gets affected. We understand that. There was a ball Baker threw early in the game. He had a Igbuka kind of cutting to the post. And there was 2 defenders there, but Igbuka had the position, and it was just like a fraction of a second too late. And I know he's playing banged up too. This Tampa team's, they're in trouble. Because Carolina's going to do one of 2 things. They're either going to continue to sometimes play good against the bad teams, but always play good against the good teams, or they're going to finish this stretch here pretty solid, and they're going to take this division right out from Tampa. And what happens in Tampa after that? But the timing, I get it for the offense. It's off right now. Hopefully playing on Thursday night going to next Sunday when they play again is helpful in getting timing, but they've got so many guys banged up. Do you want guys taking extra reps right now? They're in trouble, and you could see it last night. And Atlanta, screw you. Again, sometimes I try and look for the best words possible. Sometimes it just needs to be said. Screw you, Atlanta. To go back to our season preview show, I picked Zach Robinson to be the assistant coach of the year, the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. Why? Because of what I saw last night. That's who I expected the Falcons to be. And maybe Michael Penix wasn't ready to take over this offense like they thought. Who knows? I'm not going to overreact to Kirk Cousins playing, one good game on Thursday Night Football, where he always plays a damn good game. And he always throws for a lot of yards on Tampa. Maybe the key for the Falcons is to use a 2-quarterback system, kind of like the 6-man rotation that we're seeing in baseball. If it's a Thursday night game or a game against the Bucs, it is a Cousins start. I don't know. You guys figure it out. It's not my friggin' job. But that's what I expected Atlanta's offense to look like all year. And oh, by the way, remember, they didn't have Drake London. Just what Pitts and Robinson did alone last night. That was what we expected to see out of Atlanta all year. Not Atlanta be 5-9 and a non-factor yet again. 82 receiving, 93 rushing for Bijan last night. The hell, Atlanta. That's exactly what we all expected you to be. Todd Bowles' tirade, though, man, I still can't get over it. Maybe it was because Zane Gonzalez has dropped the dagger for a second year in a row on Tampa Bay. Game-winning field goal last year for Washington in the playoffs. Game-winning field goal last night for the Falcons. In what could be the blow that sinks the pirate ship in Tampa this year. Tampa's now lost 6 of 8. They're 0-7 when Baker throws a pick. And I'm not going to put that all on Baker, but just an interesting nugget. And I said it again last year with Bowles. It's hard to fire a guy that keeps winning the division. But I think now that Carolina's improved, they've got a long friggin' way to go. But we were talking about this Carolina team a couple weeks ago, and I told the boys, I'm like, this Carolina team's kind of a pain in the ass. Carolina's still got a long way to go, but they're closing the gap. Atlanta, we saw last night what they're capable of. And I'll hand it to New Orleans. They've gotten the literal shit kicked out of them a couple times this year. They've also been fairly competitive. But if you're Tampa, you can't lose in back-to-back weeks games against NFC South opponents that are sub-500. And they might not have enough time to right the ship. It might be time to have the new voice conversation. I don't know. But what I saw from last night's game and the post game, that's a team that's already done. That's a team that's kind of got a little bit of a Colts vibe to them right now. Speaking of, a couple news and notes from the NFL, and then we'll talk about this goofball bet, and then the final word for Friday here. Minnesota last week threw Max Brosmer at Seattle, and it was an absolute disaster. First things first, I want to make sure I do this. A shout out to Kevin Hart and Keenan Thompson. I believe their new show on Amazon is called Good Sports. And they brought up a fair point on the Seahawks. It's a cool name, the Seattle Seahawks. Whatever the stupid, annoying bird sounds like up there at Lumen. Place I still want to watch a game. It's a cool name and everything. But why don't we call them what they really are? The Seattle Ocean Pigeons. Makes way more sense to me. All right, after that regression, Riley, here's the deal with the Colts. Shane Steichen has not said that Phillip Rivers, who knows the offense because he ran it with his son's high school football team, he has not said that he's going to start yet. We've talked about this a couple times this week. I don't know why you sign him if your intent wasn't to play him right away. At the same time, we're talking about a 44-year-old who hasn't played in 5 years. Hello, thanks for helping us out in a pinch. Welcome to our first game. It's in Seattle against arguably the league's best defense. Good luck. I think that Seattle is going to absolutely throttle the Colts, and I don't care who's playing quarterback. I tried to tell everybody last year what pieces that they let go of and the pieces that they brought in, and how much I believe in Mike McDonald as a coach. They are rebuilding the Legion of Boom up there. Again, I've talked a couple times this week. Nick Eamon-Wari. I have money on him to be the defensive rookie of the year. That dude is an animal. But there are players at every single freaking level on that Seahawks defense. And not to be funny, because I think there's a lot of people that are going to be concerned about this. One of our followers, Billy V, brought it up this week. Seriously concerned for his overall health against the Seattle defense. I think that's a valid concern. Puberty's a fun thing. Where the hell did that squeak come from? I think it's a valid concern. Who does he get the week after that? Oh, his first home game as the Colts quarterback, if he survives, if he plays on Sunday. His first home game as Colts quarterback is on Monday Night Football against the 49ers defense the very next week. Again, I respect the Colts for doing what they had to do. If anybody else worth a damn was available, we don't actually know. The familiarity there made it easy. Who knows? Maybe the old battle axe has got some magic left in that cannon. I think Seattle's going to beat the living hell out of the Colts this weekend. Arizona is in Houston against Texans. Speaking of red-hot defenses, here's your argument B to what I think is an ABC conversation of who the best defense in football is, whether it's Seattle, whether it's Houston, or whether it's Denver. Maybe Green Bay even in that conversation. New England. I think it's up for debate, but that Houston defense, they're going to get a chance to take on that Cardinals offense. I'm definitely going to look at Jacoby Brissett's passing attempts number in this game. Last week, I think his number was like 39.5. And the Cardinals were obviously way down the entire game. They got their asses kicked again by an NFC West opponent. You know, the Cardinals, this will blow your mind not to get sidetracked. The Cardinals have only won a playoff game, or only been to the playoffs, and in their existence, every 9.55 years is when they make a playoff appearance. The least amount of playoff appearances of all time for seasons played. Surprised that hasn't happened more. But Arizona's playing Houston in Houston. Houston's on a roll right now. I'm going to look at Brissett's passing attempts, but I don't know if I'm going to play it because I think this one gets sideways like really early. Cardinals don't have a whole lot of options. I think Keaton Slovis is still the backup. Maybe they want to give him some time. I don't know. Obviously, the Cardinals have massive quarterback decisions. I think this game on Sunday could get away from them very easily. In fact, our guy Billy V and I were talking earlier this week. He went on record and said, I don't know if the Cardinals are even going to score this weekend. I think Houston, when we talk about the current what's going on in the NFL, I think Houston is literally driving the momentum train right now. I think of any team in football right now, I think the Texans have the most swag and momentum going. And if that offense can somehow round into form and protect C.J. Stroud for 4 playoff games, that team can win the Super Bowl. And we're looking at that classic down early, everything's screwed up, everybody's injured, big play, momentum shift. You ride that wave all the way into the postseason. Well, DeMeco Ryans is really familiar with that from his time in San Francisco. This Texans team is dangerous. And if their offense even gets slightly better, they're going to be a real tough out. And also likely might not be playing at their standard TJ assigned wild card game, the first one of Super Wild Card Weekend or Mega Wild Card Weekend or whatever the F it's called now. A Texans team is dangerous, man. All right, let's get to my maybe genius, maybe dumbass idea here. So I wanted something that kind of meandered its way through the weekend a little bit. I think, last weekend we called it Statement Weekend in the NFL. I think it's kind of the same thing this weekend too. But there's some really interesting things that I saw in some of the lines this weekend. It's making the Sunday spread video and what I decide to put on that, a couple of which I've already given out this week. There's a couple more I still need to add in there for Sunday's video. And I'm having a hard time with some of these. So what I'm calling this right here, and like anytime we do a parlay, your odds are slim, especially the more legs you add. When we throw a parlay out like that, we're throwing down $5, maybe 10 if we're feeling froggy. Okay? Just something to have fun with. Doesn't break the bank. So what I'm calling this play right here this weekend is the what I know from past experiences parlay. Fancy. Maybe we should put that on a t-shirt. You listening, people that make those decisions? Can I mention t-shirts anymore? They're coming. All right, so $5 bet. We're going to start with the Army-Navy game on Saturday. Always take the points with the dog in this game. I'm not saying it's a foolproof method. Not trying to tell you that. I am not a handicapper. But typically in this Army-Navy game, the dog keeps it really close. The over-under, you've heard the stories. I will bet it. I will likely bet it under. It is a miserable bet to watch because when you've got two teams that basically do nothing but run the football, any run can break your bank. But it's tradition. You got to do it. But I always back the dog with the points in this game. And I think this year, as compared to a few of the past years here for the Army-Navy game, I think this year they're pretty even. So, and it's always fun to watch the Army-Navy game. I love that it gets to kind of stand by itself. Yes, there's some bowl games this weekend. One of which, if you're able to see or you're not driving and you can safely read it, is the next game up there. And this is a game TJ and I both talked about yesterday, so not a whole lot to say here. I love the spot for Boise State. I don't see Washington as 10 points better than Boise State. I think Boise State's looking for a momentum springboard going into their new conference, the Pac-12, another conference that they're going to pretty much walk all over. But hey, they changed. But I don't think Washington's 10 points better. So that gets us started. And then there's some lines that I'm not sure why. I just talked about the Texans. You see they're minus 9.5, have no problem laying that. I might look at some Cardinals team total unders. I might look at some defensive touchdown plays. I think you can guarantee yourself that Will Anderson will have at least one sack in that game. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. The Texans are bound to hit a little bit of a bump, obviously, but talent to talent, it's a no contest there. Here's where it all gets interesting for me. The Patriots, and I don't know right now, I don't have it up in front of me. What you have in front of me is last night when I concocted this crazy thing at some ungodly hour of the morning. I got the Patriots at plus 100. I don't know today if they're still at plus money anywhere. They already won at the Ralph. And I think a couple of things can be true about this Buffalo team. Number one, I still have complete confidence in them to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl like I picked at the beginning of the year. I still do. I think another thing is true with Buffalo that I think more than any Buffalo team, I think this Buffalo team is different because it's such a fine line for them. If the offense isn't 4, 17, 86, I think Dalton Kincaid is off the top of my head, we're struggling to find production anywhere else. And I thought some of the guys that they brought in were going to help with that. You also know what I think about this Patriots team. I've said it plenty of times. I think that this year's Patriots team is last year's Commanders team, but with a better defense. If you don't think for 1 second that Mike Vrabel is telling his young, impressionable Patriots team that they're underdogs to a team they've already beaten and they have a 2-game lead on in their division, and nobody thinks they can win this game at home against Buffalo. You don't think that's already been talked about from Mike Vrabel of all guys? I still think this Buffalo team, I would say it right now. Buffalo and Houston are the two teams I have the most confidence in right now in the AFC. I think this Buffalo team could very easily lose that game, and it still wouldn't change my position. So instead of going against the Patriots like I have a few times this year, which has obviously not been beneficial to me because they have risen to every challenge that they've had in front of them, you still have to play the games on your schedule. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are. I'm going to go on the other side this time and back the Patriots. And probably still not change my mind on the Bills. I think Buffalo can win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think New England can. But I don't know if Buffalo can beat them up there. And I think the Patriots are going to take being dogs at home as motivation. Then there's another situation that's pretty much the same damn thing. And what for 1 second would indicate to you that I wouldn't love the Broncos this weekend as home dogs to Jordan Love and the Packers. If you've watched the show, you're not surprised which way I'm going here. Because Mac and I talked about this the other day when we were talking about the teams that we thought actually had a chance to win the Super Bowl. I gave you guys the 8 teams, the only 8 teams out of the 23 that are remaining that I think can actually win the Super Bowl this year. It's the Rams, the Eagles, and the Niners. It's Buffalo, and it's Pittsburgh. Young quarterbacks typically don't do great in their first time or two in the playoffs. All of those teams I just mentioned have quarterbacks that have made deep postseason runs before. The other teams that I'll include on that list, the exception to the rule, would be Houston, Seattle, and Denver. Seattle out of that group obviously has the best offense. I think Seattle out of that group has the best defense. Again, that part is debatable. But those are the only 8 teams I think that can win. And the reason that I include Seattle, Houston, and Denver is their defenses are good enough to win them games if their offense is poor. Again, I've said the same thing about the Seahawks right now. My concern with the Seahawks, my only concern with the Seahawks is the turnovers. Because they can come in bunches for the Seahawks and they can come at the worst time for the Seahawks. And their defense has been that damn good this year that they've been able to overcome that more times than not. Obviously, as we know, Seattle's got a a difficult finish to the season. Next Thursday night, they've got the Rams in Seattle. That's a must-have for the Hawks, who are a better road team than they are a home team. I don't care about the Toyota-thon stats for Jordan Love. I'm sure you've seen it out there. Apparently his numbers go through the roof during Toyota-thon. Great. Then why haven't the Packers asked Toyota to extend the damn Toyota-thon through the Super Bowl just for them? Hell, don't they have like 72 million owners because the fans own the team? If I'm going to look at this game objectively here, obviously both defenses very good. I can't trust any wide receiver that wears a green and gold jersey. I can't. Maybe Christian Watson at times. And we talked about this. And you have a very young quarterback that's going to be very good for a long time. I don't think he deserves the praise that he's already gotten, but he's a good quarterback and he's going to be a great one. He's also got wide receivers that look like they could be good wide receivers and they're going to be great ones. Well, at some point, those two data points have to mesh. And you can say the same thing with Bo Nix and the talent around him on the Denver offense, which at times can look anemic as well. But I think what Denver does from a special team standpoint, what Denver does from a scheming standpoint, I think Jordan Love's in for a brutal day. So I will take the 2.5 points with the Broncos, and I will take the Broncos on money line. Final one on there is the New Orleans Saints, and you're going, what the? Yeah. But here's the thing. We've talked about it all year. This is literally the thing. Carolina's beaten Dallas, Green Bay at Lambeau, the Rams. They beat Miami, who at the time it didn't look like that was worth a damn. Miami's playing really good football right now. I would consider that a halfway decent win for the Panthers. Again, let's think about the subject we're talking about, the Panthers. The bar's not very high right now. They lost to New Orleans at home already this year and really had a complete no-show on offense. The Saints are playing good. They're playing hard. They're fighting. They haven't thrown in the towel. It's New Orleans, voodoo, the Superdome, all that fun stuff. So I'm taking the, okay, you win, I'm on your side approach with the Patriots. And I'm taking the, I really want to be on your side, but you have to prove it to me approach for the Panthers and picking against them this weekend. Flawed logic, maybe. Solid logic, let's hope so, because for $5 it pays $338.69. It is what it is. But that's sometimes what you got to do is you just look at it and you go, hey, maybe I had a bad couple of weeks. Or obviously, as you guys have followed the show, I've been absolutely dreadful. I've been Cleveland Browns. Damn it, I did it again. I've been Cleveland Browns level dreadful on Mondays and Thursdays this year. Been pretty solid, about 500 on Sundays. Had a winning season in college football. This is okay, I'm not going to try and outsmart myself. I'm like Mike Tyson. I'm not going to try and outsmart myself this weekend. Based on what I know, these are things that I think will play. Watch me go 0 for 5. I'll probably, or 0 for 6. I'll probably end up going 5-1, to be honest with you. And the way I lose the one will be some kind of bullshit Pete Carroll late field goal that gets the Cardinals to a 9-point loss. So it'll be something like that. It'll either go 0-5 or it's going 5-1. As we say all the time, you can play them straight, you can play them together. That's entirely up to you. Playing them straight this weekend be worth your couple bucks there, anyways, because you got 3 plus money dogs there. Run with it. Let's hang out telepathically this weekend. We can do that. Speaking of weekend plans, as we get to the final word here, I don't know if you've seen it yet. I've only seen the first 15 minutes. Booyah. The story of Stuart Scott on E60. I believe it was on Wednesday night. I only saw the first 15 minutes or so. Obviously, if you have the new fancy ESPN app called ESPN. If you go there, it's available anytime. I thought I recorded it last night on YouTube TV, but can't find it anywhere. Not really going to look because what's the point? But we talk about a guy who just changed a lot of things in this industry, a legend, an icon, and an all-around just freaking good dude. I'll tell you the first 15 minutes that I watched, and I normally, like, I'll fall asleep and let something run like that. That one I didn't want to. I literally paused it and just put something else on. Because it was that damn good. I didn't want to, like, wake up and hear 5 minutes of, like, the last 10 minutes of it. You know the situation I'm talking about. I don't need to explain what I do in bed to you. The first 15 minutes was incredible, and I'm sure I think it's about an hour and 15 minutes, if I remember right. I'm definitely going to watch that, too. I'm going to be watching a lot of shit and probably gaining weight, because every time I stand up for long periods of time, I can't stop hacking, but that is what it is. So, a lot of stuff this weekend, a lot of things you can mess around with, a lot of things you can screw around with. From a betting standpoint, you got everything's going on. And, it's a good time to be a sports fan, man. We talk about it all the time. All the time. Plenty of stuff for you this weekend on our social channels at Mike Arana Show. Some of the normal, some new stuff. So we're going to keep dropping stuff like that in. All right. It's time, because it's Friday, for the final word. And we've seen this ad nauseum all week, the college football playoff bracket. It is what it is. It's almost been a week. Let's just stop complaining, because Notre Dame's athletic director is doing plenty of that. It is what it is. We got our 12 a week from today. About a week and 5 hours from right now. Alabama and Oklahoma and Norman. It's time for us to appreciate what's here now. Listen, college football is not dead, and it's not drunk. As much as it kind of looks like it's either dead or drunk at times, it's not. It's just hungover right now. And whether it's 4 to 8 to 12 to 16, none of them are right. But we needed more than 4 teams in regardless. This is a year where 16 teams being in would have been fantastic. But we needed more than 4 regardless. The ACC sucks right now. And we get 2 starving, hungry, little guy dogs in Tulane. And I will say it every time we talk about it, even before we make our game picks next week. I think Tulane is going into Oxford and going to beat Mississippi. And Max says it all the time. Everyone has a chance, but the G5s don't really have a chance. And I don't disagree with him. I think there's going to be a lot of years where the teams like a James Madison or a Tulane that sneak in get their asses kicked. I don't think this year is going to be one of those years. Once upon a time, if you think back, do you remember this? There was a team that played in the Fiesta Bowl that needed a miracle to beat a team that they were not even a class below. Probably lower than that. And they put on a Statue of Liberty performance of a lifetime. That was Boise State. Boise State had no business being in that game until they had business being in that game. Boise essentially was the Gonzaga of college football. Out of nowhere, slowly building this novelty blue turf. Who are these guys? Holy shit, they just beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Now we're just looking for our next Gonzaga in college football. Maybe it is James Madison. I don't know. Depends on if Billy Napier's calling the plays next year or not. Maybe it is Tulane. I think Tulane's losing a hell of a football coach. I also think Tulane had the plan in place to try and continue the momentum that they have. The American was a good conference this year. It was a fun conference to watch. TJ was all over that shit, especially with North Texas. And while TJ doesn't like the state of the game of college football, I understand that too. But we should have been smart enough, ironically, at institutions of higher learning, aka presidents, chancellors, athletic directors nationwide, we should have been smart enough when we decided to go forward with paying college athletes to use the 4 major professional sports as a guidepost, as a mentor, if you will. Somebody that just would have been smart enough to say, you can't have mega conferences with confusing algorithms and potential coin tosses to set up your conference championship games, like we're at a West Texas gas station. Or a Magic 8-ball deciding who wins a conference, because some of them are damn near that. Especially in these conferences where nobody even comes close to playing everybody in their conference. We also should have been smart enough in this position to use the 4 major sports as a guide, and as a reference point, and as a how-to, and follow their damn model. Think about it. Rookies in the 4 major sports. A lot of them have gone broke long before their careers even ended. Well, who are the rookies now in professional sports? They're the college athletes. And we haven't been smart enough to put these things together in the whole process. Again, college football is not dead. It's not drunk. It's just hungover right now. We've all been in that fog. But these rookies in professional sports, the college athletes, also need to be held to the same standards and need to understand that a pay for performance contract also comes with some stuff, including you do not get paid in full until you complete the season with us, which is the end of our final game, date to be determined. I like that Georgia went after the kid that took their money, or they're going after the kid that took their money and bolted to Mizzou. It was going to take that to happen for us to go, hey, wait a minute here. You imagine if the NBA and the NFL, especially just those two, didn't have contracts, the kind of bullshit we'd see? Yeah, you can imagine it because we're watching it in college football. We need to stop kicking the can blindly down the road and ignoring the fact that NCAA doesn't mean National Collegiate Athletic Association anymore. It means the National Cash Athletic Association. Players under contract with NIL dollars attached is fantastic. It was long overdue. And they deserve all of it. The amount of money they're making for their respective schools, they deserve to get paid for it. I have no problem with it. But anywhere you get paid that kind of money, you sign a contract, and we're not doing it effectively enough to where these kids think that, cool, I got my NIL money, I'm opting out and I'm entering the transfer portal. You're not finishing the job. Now we can come after you. Cut down on a lot of it. Maybe another school pays that's what we're going to get to. The school he wants to transfer to pays his fine back to the school he's transferring from. I mean, that's basically the system we're headed at right now. There needs to be a clear, defined criteria. Perfect example. SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, plus one, give us 5 12-team conferences in Division I, so forth and so on. And contrary to popular belief, people, ESPN, CBS, NBC, they don't control the college football playoff like you think they do, you tinfoilers out there. Because if you thought ESPN is controlling how this whole thing works, why would ESPN be the reason that the rest of the bowl season is disintegrating in front of our eyes when most of those bowl games are on the ESPN family of networks? If you think they're destroying college football and they call the shots at ESPN, why would ESPN sink a revenue stream? Why would ESPN drop, 70 friggin' games or whatever the hell it is? Down to 20. That makes no financial sense. But we've got to even it out. You have to play everybody. You put them in 12-team conferences. You play everybody in your conference once. You have an ACC, SEC challenge, however you want to deviate that, where you automatically play one team from a cross-conference every year. You want to schedule a cupcake. Boom, there you go. You're at 12, 13 games, depending on what you want to do, headed towards the college football playoff. That's not hard. Getting players under contracts for the NIL money that they have, that's not hard. Again, it's not broken. It's not drunk. It's just hungover. But we've got to stop kicking the can down the road. And we're going to figure it out. Expansion's coming. There's a new deal coming for this thing. Notre Dame's automatic kicker and automatic qualifier starts next year as long as it stays at 12 or 14 teams. They have to be top 13. If it goes to 14, they have to be top 12 if it stays at 12. We're going to figure it out, and expansion's coming. We know that. I think 16 might be the perfect spot. I think that really might be it. 16 might be it. But if we're going to force people to play conference championship games, they have to mean something as far as we fill out that 16. And like I said yesterday, I agree with Josh Pate. The biggest thing we need is honesty. And the honesty that needs to be put out on the front of the table here is we're not judging every conference championship game the same way. Just tell us that. Because I don't hate it. I think there's some merit to it. The ACC championship game is not the Big Ten championship game. The Big 12 championship game is not the SEC championship game. The Big 12 is in a way better spot than the ACC is. It's not drunk. It's not broken. It's just hungover. And it's a dog-eat-dog sport. It is the most hate-filled, vitriolic thing in all of sports is college football. Why is that? Because nobody understands what rules we're actually playing with. And you can tell me you're not going to watch college sports. I'm not going to watch it. Those kids aren't loyal to their schools anymore. Why should they be? And if you like pro sports, you should have no problem with college sports right now because it's kind of the same thing. College sports just wasn't smart enough to go, hey, you billion-dollar powerhouses, how do you form this? And we're going to take a little bit of the baseball model, a little bit of the hockey model, a little bit of the NFL model, and we're going to merge them into one universal thing across all college sports. I'm not watching college sports. Those kids aren't loyal anymore. Do you watch pro sports? Yes, I do. Then what's the difference? It's glorious in the fall and winter when we get to watch college football, especially when the weather drops, a fire going, little grilling, college football. And none of us like change. But I remind you at the same time, you would have been more pissed off this year with Tulane getting the last bye in Ohio State having to earn their right to play Tulane. Because under last year's setup, that's exactly what would have happened. So we can bitch about this for weeks and weeks and through the college football playoff. And I can already see it. The first blowout game of those first round games. See, these are worthless. We don't need them. Don't watch them. Half of you think you have the script anyways. There's too much good in college football for it to completely break. Is it in the body shop with a laundry list of repairs right now? Sure, absolutely. There's more good than bad in college football, and hopefully within the next decade, we can see that kind of morph its way into a foolproof, easy to comprehend form of a college football playoff for years to come. But maybe they, and whoever they is, we don't even know. You saw Mario Cristobal the other day being asked by Kirk Herbstreit and Joey Galloway on their show that they do on Mondays. They asked him who is in charge of the calendar. Even the coaches don't know who sets the calendar anymore. How do your coaches not know who to go to suggest a way to make the calendar better, to make the sport better? Think back to the Remember the Titans quote all the time, especially in this scenario. Attitude reflects leadership. Results also reflect leadership. And when your coaches don't know who to go to help fix the calendar, the guys who know how to fix the calendar the best, we have a problem. So whoever they is, you wrestling fans will remember this. You guys remember the anonymous Monday Night Raw general manager? It was just a podium and a laptop that would ding, the annoying "you've got mail" kind of ding. And then Michael Cole's dopey ass early in his career would just go read what the email said. That's kind of what I feel like is like college football right now. Who's in charge? Karen is looking for the person in charge of college football right now. We're all so passionate about it. We love it. A weekend of football is what a lot of us as sports fans live for. Let's stop bitching about the process because it's not going to get changed between now and I believe January 19th is the national title game. There's 12 teams that, whether you agree with it or not, have earned their right to get to this stage and want to put on a show and try and win a chip, get a fine Cuban sandwich down in Miami. I've been thinking about that since we talked about it on Wednesday's show. I didn't feel like I'm literally dead and still standing somehow. But as we found out on the show this week, Dr. Mack told us, scientifically speaking, there is life after death. There's also college football after this, and it's going to get better. I wish I could tell you how soon, because I know we'd all want to know. But right now, let's get through this weekend, and when we hit Monday, let's hit Monday running. Because Friday night we have a fantastic rematch. Two good football teams, Alabama and Oklahoma, two teams that we all have several questions about. We've got the NFL on the stretch run here. I'll remind you, college football is not broken. It's not drunk. It's just hungover. As we get older, sometimes it takes a little longer to get through the hangovers. There's more good than bad in college football. ESPN is not controlling the college football playoff. We just actually have to establish these things for the sport called rules. And usually if there's rules, there needs to be somebody in charge. And there's been several candidates that have thrown their name into the ring. Josh Pate for college football commissioner, 1,000% has our backing. Nick Saban for college football commissioner, 1,000% has our backing. Some dipshit hedge fund boardroom dork has no business in college football. We need to stop that, establish contracts, level, and I mean level with even numbers, which shouldn't be hard for institutions of higher learning. Even it out, make it make sense, and you'd be surprised how many more of us get even more excited in the years to come. Plenty of stuff coming up this weekend. Back on Tuesday, Wednesday nights, 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast. Lunchtime live Thursdays and Fridays. I believe next week is a full week because we're still about a week out. Yep, we got a full week next week. We're going to have some damn fun doing it. Plenty of stuff to go around. Again, a TD play on Saturday nights. TJ's got a new edition of Hall Passes, the $55 million club. I'll have the Sunday spread. Mac will have Sunday night Mac. Then we'll round out the weekend with Monday night football. So many things going on. So for everybody that's chiming in, tuning in, sending us messages, we appreciate you. Tag your friends. Tell your friends. Go ahead and double check that like, subscribe, follow button for me, because you'd be surprised. You might think you're following and you're actually not, and it goes a long way for us. We've got an incredible crew here. We couldn't do any of this without all of you. I cannot wait to talk with you next week after another chaotic weekend in the NFL, and we're into college football playoff week. And that's what we need to focus on. It'll fix itself. For everybody behind the scenes, we will talk with you next week in this form. I'm Mike. You know the drill. Let's make some money this